When I turned 68, I threw a party for my family. I thought it would be the perfect way to bring everyone together again, to heal the gaps that had formed over the years. I had spent days preparing, making sure everything was just right. The dining table was set with my finest china, sparkling silverware catching the light from the chandelier above. I even bought my grandchildren their favorite gifts, hoping they'd feel the love I still had to offer. I had done everything I could, hoping that they would show up. But when the evening came, and the clock ticked past 7 p.m., not one of them had arrived. No phone calls, no messages, nothing. I tried to convince myself it was just a mistake. Maybe they got caught up with something, but deep down, I knew. The house felt emptier than it ever had before. The food I had so carefully prepared sat untouched, and the only sound in the house was the quiet hum of the refrigerator. I couldn't even bring myself to eat. Instead, I sat at the table, staring at the empty chairs, wondering when it had all gone wrong. My son David, my only child, had been my pride and joy. I had sacrificed everything for him, put my dreams on hold to ensure he had everything he needed. And yet, here I was alone. I picked up my phone, half expecting to see a message, but nothing. The silence was deafening. I couldn't help but think about the last time we'd been close. When was it? Was it the time he stopped calling? Or was it when Victoria, his wife, made it clear I wasn't welcome at their gatherings anymore? The cracks had started to show years ago, but I had tried to ignore them. I had told myself it was just a phase, that things would get better. But tonight it hit me. My family didn't need me. They hadn't needed me for a long time. As I sat there, staring at the empty plates, a notification popped up on my phone. It was a photo from Victoria, posted just hours ago. They were all together, laughing, having a great time. A family vacation, it seemed. But what caught my eye was the caption, "Living our best life on the Mediterranean." They hadn't even bothered to wish me a happy birthday. That was the moment I knew. I was nothing to them. Just a burden they couldn't be bothered to deal with anymore. I set my phone down and let out a long breath. I had given so much of myself, and yet, in the end, they had forgotten about me. But what hurt more than anything was realizing that the one person I thought would always be there, the one person who had promised me everything, was the one who had pushed me aside the hardest. I had always been there for him. Always. And now, as I sat alone on my 68th birthday, I had nothing left but the empty house around me. The question that kept echoing in my mind was, why did they need me now? And what was I supposed to do next? I wasn't sure, but I knew one thing. It wasn't over. Not yet. The next day, the silence of the house weighed on me even more. I wandered through the empty rooms, the walls echoing with memories of a time when they were filled with laughter and life. But now, all I had were the faint traces of a family that had once meant everything to me. I could feel the sting in my chest as I passed by the family photos on the walls. There was a time when I had been at the center of it all, when my presence was what held everything together. Now, I was nothing more than an afterthought. I stopped by the window, staring out into the backyard where I used to spend time with my son, David, when he was younger. The swings were still there, untouched, the grass overgrown. It felt like everything in this house had been left behind, just like me. As I stood there, lost in thought, my phone buzzed. It was a text from David. My heart skipped a beat. Maybe this was it, the message I had been waiting for. Maybe he was reaching out, realizing the distance that had grown between us. I quickly unlocked my phone and read the message. It said, "Hey Mom, I know things have been weird lately, but I need your help. Can we talk?" For a moment, I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to scream, to tell him exactly how I felt, how abandoned I had been, how betrayed I felt. But then, another part of me, the part that still held on to hope, told me to stay calm, to see where this would go. I took a deep breath and replied, "I'm here, David. What's going on?" He responded almost immediately, his message filled with urgency. "It's about the house, Mom. We need your help with some financial stuff. Can we meet today?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. The house. Of course, it was about the house. It always seemed to come back to the house. The place where David grew up, the place that had once been filled with love and joy, but now felt like a battleground. I could hear the words in my mind. "We need your help." But what they really meant was, "We need your money." It stung, but I tried not to let it show. "Okay, I'll meet you later," I texted back, trying to keep my voice steady, my hands trembling as I typed. The rest of the day felt like a blur. I went through the motions, making myself a cup of tea, sitting in the living room, waiting. I couldn't help but wonder if this was a genuine request or just another way for them to manipulate me. I thought about everything that had happened, the years of silence, the abandonment, the empty promises. Was this really the turning point, or was I being set up again? My mind raced, but I knew I had to go through with this meeting. Whether I liked it or not, I was part of their world, and if they were going to ask for help, I needed to see what they really wanted. As I drove to the meeting, I thought about the years I had spent taking care of them, always putting their needs ahead of my own. But now I realized I had nothing left to give. They had taken everything from me, and I had allowed it. But no more. I parked in front of the coffee shop where we had agreed to meet. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, and I took one last deep breath before stepping out of the car. When I walked inside, David was already waiting for me at a table near the window. He looked up when he saw me, his face a mixture of concern and something else. Guilt. Maybe. "Mom, thanks for coming," he said, his voice low. I nodded, but didn't sit down right away. I needed to know what this was about, what they wanted from me. "What's going on, David? Why do you need my help?" I asked, keeping my voice calm but firm. David shifted uncomfortably in his seat, avoiding my gaze. It's about the house. Victoria and I are in some trouble. We've been trying to handle everything on our own, but now we need your help too. Well, to keep things afloat." He hesitated for a moment, then added, "We're struggling financially, and we've tried everything. I don't know who else to turn to." I could see the desperation in his eyes, but there was something else too, a hint of something darker, something that didn't quite add up. As he spoke, I felt my mind racing, my heart pounding. I had been here before, sitting at this table, listening to empty promises and half-truths. This wasn't the first time they had come to me for help, and it probably wouldn't be the last. But this time, I wasn't going to let them take advantage of me. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "David, I've always been here for you. I've always helped when you needed it. But I need to know the truth. What's really going on?" David's eyes flickered, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flash of guilt cross his face. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that familiar pleading look. "It's complicated, Mom. We've been trying to manage, but things got out of hand. We just need your help to make sure we don't lose the house." I stared at him, my mind working quickly. I knew there was more to this than he was letting on. I wasn't sure what it was yet, but I was determined to find out. As David finished speaking, I felt a strange calmness wash over me. His words were heavy with urgency, yet something about them didn't sit right. I could hear the desperation in his voice, but the more he spoke, the more I felt like he was trying to sell me a story, one that didn't quite add up. I had been down this road before, too many times. I had been the one to pick up the pieces, to bail him out when he needed help. But now, after years of distance, after years of silence, I couldn't help but wonder if he was being honest with me. The thought crossed my mind again. What was really going on? "David," I said, my voice steady but sharp, "this doesn't sound like just a financial issue. You and Victoria have been fine for years. You've had your share of success. So why now? Why the sudden need for help?" His eyes flickered for a brief moment, and I saw something in them that made my gut twist. Was it guilt? I couldn't tell. "It's complicated, Mom. You know how it is. Business isn't always as stable as it looks." The way he said it sounded rehearsed, almost like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. I didn't say anything right away. I just sat there, waiting for him to say more, but nothing came. I could feel the weight of the silence growing between us, and I knew I had to keep pushing. "David, I know you're trying to protect your pride, but I need the truth. You've never been this evasive before. What are you hiding?" He shifted in his seat, his eyes darting away from mine. The silence stretched, each second heavier than the last. I could tell he was thinking, trying to figure out how to get around my questions, but I wasn't going to let him. I wasn't going to be fooled again. Finally, he sighed, a sound full of frustration and defeat. "Fine," he said, his voice quieter now. "The truth is, Victoria and I have made some bad investments. We've been trying to keep up appearances, but the truth is, we're in deep. We've lost more money than we can afford." My heart sank as I listened to him, but a part of me wasn't surprised. He had always been a man of big ideas, big dreams, and sometimes those dreams didn't pan out. But this was different. This wasn't just about a bad investment. This was about something bigger, something he wasn't telling me. So what exactly are you asking for, David? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, but my mind racing. He looked at me, almost pleading, his hands shifting nervously in his lap. We need the house, Mom. The mortgage, the taxes, we're falling behind. We need your help to get things back on track. Without it, we'll lose everything. My mind spun as I processed his words. The house. The one my late husband and I had worked so hard to build. The one that had seen the ups and downs of our family's life. They wanted it. David and Victoria had always been ambitious, but to ask for the house, the one thing that held all our memories, was a blow I hadn't expected. But what really hit me was the unspoken truth between his words. Their need wasn't just about the house. It was about control. They wanted to get their hands on everything, including the one thing I had left. I sat back, the weight of the situation sinking in. David, I said slowly, the words coming out colder than I intended. This isn't just about money, is it? He blinked, taken aback by the question. What do you mean? You and Victoria have been talking about this for a while, haven't you? I pressed. You've been making plans behind my back. His face turned pale, and for the first time since we sat down, I saw fear in his eyes. He knew I was onto him. I didn't wait for an answer. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor, and looked down at him. I've spent my whole life giving, David. And now, after all these years, you come to me with this. My voice was quiet, but the hurt in it was undeniable. I'm not going to be your fallback plan anymore. I turned to leave, my heart heavy with the weight of everything I had just learned. As I walked out, I couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting, this moment, wasn't just about the house. It was about something far deeper, something that had been festering for years. And for the first time in a long time, I knew it was time to stand up for myself, to stop being the person everyone turned to when they needed something. I had given so much, and now it was time to take back what was mine. As I walked away from the coffee shop, I could feel the weight of the conversation settling on me. The cool autumn air didn't seem to ease the tension in my chest. I thought about David's words, how he seemed so desperate, so willing to say anything to get what he wanted. But more than anything, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being played. They were so good at pretending. For years, they had pretended everything was fine, that they didn't need me, that I was just another part of their life they could push aside when convenient. But now, when they were in trouble, they came running. It wasn't just the house they wanted. It was everything. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought they could walk all over me. But they had no idea what they were up against. I had been silent for too long, trying to hold the family together, trying to make everyone happy. But now, it was time for me to put myself first. As I sat at home that evening, the house still too quiet, I thought about what David had said about the house. The house we had all built our memories in, the place that had always been the heart of the family. My heart ached at the thought of losing it. But what hurt even more was the realization that they didn't care about the memories. They only cared about the value, the money they could get from it. The house was just a commodity to them. But to me, it was everything. It was the place where my husband and I had raised David, where we had built our lives together. It held the remnants of our love, our sacrifices, our hard work. How could they just take that away? I felt the anger bubbling up inside me, but I pushed it down. I wasn't going to let them win. Not like this. The next few days were a blur. I spent hours going over old papers, looking through bank statements, legal documents, anything that could help me understand what was really going on. I needed to know what I was dealing with. I couldn't just hand over everything without understanding the full picture. What I found shocked me. Hidden accounts, assets that had been transferred without my knowledge, everything tied to the house. They had been planning this for months, maybe even years. I wasn't just dealing with financial trouble. I was dealing with manipulation, with deceit. I sat back in my chair, the documents spread out before me, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the fire inside me ignite. I had been letting them control the narrative for too long. I had been the dutiful mother, the understanding parent, the silent supporter. But now, it was time for me to take control. They thought I was weak, that I was just an old woman who didn't understand the game. But I knew better. I had seen enough in my life to know how to fight. And this time, I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The next day, I called my lawyer. I told him I needed to make sure my assets were protected, that the house was secure. He promised me that we would take action, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. David and Victoria were powerful, and they would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. But I was ready. I wasn't going to let them tear apart the last piece of my life. As I hung up the phone, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't just reacting to what was happening around me. I was taking charge. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. I wasn't going to sit quietly while they destroyed everything I had worked for. I had a plan, and I was going to make sure they knew just how wrong they were to underestimate me. The following week, I received a call from my lawyer. His voice was calm, but I could sense the urgency behind it. Alice, I think it's time we take action. I've reviewed everything, and we need to move quickly before David and Victoria can make any more moves. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a sense of cold resolve settle in my bones. For so long, I had let them walk all over me. But not anymore. This time, I wasn't going to let them take everything from me. I had spent too many years being invisible in my own family, too many years bending over backward to please people who didn't care about me. It was time to change that. I hung up the phone and walked to my study, where the papers I had gathered over the past few days were spread out in front of me. I picked up the document that detailed the hidden accounts. There it was, in black and white, the proof of their deceit. They had been siphoning money off for months, diverting funds to hidden accounts that I had never known about. They thought I was too old to understand what was going on, too weak to fight back. But I wasn't. I had lived through enough to know how to protect myself. I wasn't going to let them take what was rightfully mine. The house, the savings, the legacy. I had worked for all of it, and I would be damned if I let them take it without a fight. I called the bank, instructed them to freeze the accounts, and had the lawyer begin the process of securing everything I had. As I sat there, organizing the documents and making sure everything was in order, I thought about David and Victoria. How long had they been planning this? How long had they been waiting for me to be weak enough to take everything from me? I thought about the way they had treated me, how they had ignored my calls, how they had excluded me from every family gathering, how they had made it clear that I no longer mattered to them. But now, I had the upper hand, and it felt damn good. I couldn't help but smile to myself. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about respect. It was about standing up for myself, finally. I wasn't just going to let them destroy me, and I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. The following day, I met with my lawyer again. We discussed the next steps, and I could feel the tension between us as we prepared for the confrontation that was coming. This wasn't going to be easy, but I was ready. As I left the office, I felt a sense of power I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't just the woman who had been pushed aside. I wasn't just the old mother who was expected to disappear. I was taking back control of my life. I was taking back what was mine. Later that evening, as I sat alone in my living room, I reflected on everything that had led up to this point. I had spent my life taking care of others, always putting their needs before mine. But now it was my turn. It was my time to shine. The next day, I would make sure David and Victoria knew just how wrong they were to think they could walk all over me. I would make sure they knew that I wasn't someone to be trifled with. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one who was in control, and I would make sure they understood that. The days passed, and I could feel the tension building with every step I took towards my final decision. The meeting with my lawyer had been a turning point. I wasn't just moving forward. I was taking control of everything I had left. The house, the money, the memories, everything they had tried to take from me was now protected. I had done everything to ensure my future was secure, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't just leave things to chance. David and Victoria needed to understand the consequences of their actions. I wasn't going to let them walk away unscathed. The phone rang one afternoon, and it was David. My heart sank, but I answered anyway. Mom, we need to talk. Victoria and I are really struggling. Please, can you just hear us out? His voice sounded different than the last time we spoke. There was desperation in it, something I hadn't heard before. I could feel the shift, the pressure building on his end. But I didn't react immediately. I had learned to wait, to let them show their cards before I made my move. What do you need now, David? I asked, my voice calm but firm. There was a pause, and I could tell he was hesitating. We've been through a lot, and we know we've made mistakes, he said, almost as if he was reading from a script. But we're asking for one last favor. Please, just help us out. We're in too deep. His words were like a needle, sharp and piercing, but I wasn't going to let them wound me. I had heard enough. I had seen through the facade, and I knew what they were really after. The house wasn't enough for them. They wanted control. They wanted everything, and they were willing to use me to get it. I couldn't let that happen. David, I said slowly, choosing my words carefully. I've given you everything. For years, I've sacrificed for this family. And now, after all this time, you come to me asking for more. There was silence on the other end. He wasn't expecting this. You've already taken so much from me. I've let you, I've allowed it. But not anymore. This time, I'm in control. There was a shift in the conversation. David didn't respond immediately, and when he finally spoke, it was with a sense of urgency. Mom, please, we've been struggling. You have no idea what it's like. Don't talk to me about struggle. I interrupted, my voice rising just enough to make my point clear. You've never known what it's like to be left behind, to be ignored, to be forgotten. For years, I've been nothing to you, David. But now, I'm not going to be your fallback. I'm not going to help you destroy what's left of my life. Not anymore. There was a long pause, and then David's voice came through, quieter than before. What do you mean? I mean, I'm done. I'm done being used. I'm done being your safety net. I hung up the phone, my heart racing, but a sense of satisfaction filling me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally standing up for myself. I had made my decision. There would be no turning back. I wasn't going to let David and Victoria take any more from me. And I wasn't going to let them manipulate me into thinking I owed them anything. I had spent my life giving, sacrificing, and now it was time for me to take what was mine. No more apologies, no more excuses. They were going to learn that they couldn't just take from me without facing the consequences. That night, I sat alone in the living room, reflecting on everything that had led up to this moment. I had spent so many years putting others first, but now, I was putting myself first. I had worked hard for everything I had, and I wasn't going to let them destroy it. Not without a fight. I was ready to face whatever came next, ready to take back control of my life. I was done being invisible in my own family. This time, they were going to see me, and they were going to understand that I wasn't someone they could push aside any longer. The next day, I received a call from Victoria. Her voice was shaky, and for a moment, I almost felt a glimmer of empathy. But then I remembered everything that had led up to this moment. The lies, the manipulations, the years of being pushed aside. This wasn't about her needing help. This was about her wanting control, just like David. Alice, please, we need to talk. David and I, we're in real trouble. We can't do this without you. I don't know what else to do. Her voice cracked on the last words, but it didn't reach me the way it used to. I had been the one who always stepped in, always fixing things for them. But not this time. This time, they were going to fix their own mess. Victoria, I said calmly, my voice as steady as I could make it. Why now? After everything, you want my help? You've had your chance, both of you. There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear the wheels turning in her head. She had probably thought I'd be weak, that I'd just fall back into the role they'd assigned me. But I wasn't that woman anymore. We're not asking for everything, Alice, Victoria said, her tone pleading now. Just enough to get back on our feet. You've always helped us. Don't turn your back on us now. I wasn't going to be swayed by her words. I had been through this before. They had always asked for more, and I had always given. But no more. What you're asking for is everything, Victoria. It's not just money. It's the house, the control over my life, my legacy. And I'm not giving it to you. Not now, not ever again. I could almost hear the shock in her silence. I had never spoken to her this way. She was used to getting what she wanted, and now she was faced with someone who wasn't going to give in. You don't understand, she said, her voice sharp now. We've worked so hard, and you're the only one who can help us. Don't do this. No, Victoria, I replied, my voice firm. You've worked hard, yes, but you've done it at my expense. You've taken what wasn't yours, and now you want more. But I won't be the one you use anymore. There was another pause, longer this time. I could feel her frustration radiating through the line. She had no control over me anymore, and that must have been a shock to her. I'll make sure you regret this, Alice, she said coldly, and the words sent a chill down my spine. But I didn't flinch. I've been regretting things for years, Victoria, but not anymore. Not this time. I hung up the phone, my hands steady despite the storm inside me. I had made my choice. I wasn't going to let them control me any longer. I had spent too long being manipulated, being the one everyone turned to when they needed something. But now, the tables had turned. Now, I was the one who had the power, and I wasn't going to let them take it away from me. I spent the rest of the day going over everything I had prepared. The paperwork, the legal documents, the plans I had made to secure my future. I wasn't going to give them another chance to tear my life apart. The next step was clear. I had to make sure they knew what it felt like to be on the receiving end for once. They had taken enough. They had used me enough. Now, it was my turn to take control, and I wasn't going to back down. The days that followed were filled with quiet determination. I spent most of my time going over the legal documents again, making sure everything was in order. I couldn't afford to make any mistakes now. There was no turning back. David and Victoria didn't know it yet, but their plan was already slipping through their fingers. I had taken the first steps towards securing everything I had worked for, and I wasn't going to let them tear it away from me. It wasn't just about the house or the money anymore. It was about respect. It was about standing my ground, showing them that I wouldn't be pushed around. As the days passed, I began to feel a sense of calm wash over me. The panic that had gripped me earlier was slowly fading, replaced by something stronger. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't the person they thought I was. I was someone who had lived through loss, through betrayal, and I had survived. Now, it was time for me to take control of my future. The phone rang again, and I saw that it was David. I took a deep breath before answering, knowing that this conversation was going to be different. "Mom," David said, his voice hesitant. "Can we talk?" I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "What is it, David?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. "Look, I know things have been rough, but I'm telling you, we need your help. We can't do this without you." His words were familiar, but they no longer held the same weight they once did. I could hear the desperation in his voice, but I wasn't moved by it anymore. I had heard it all before. "I've already told you, David. I'm not helping you. Not like this." There was silence on the other end of the line. I could almost hear the shock in his breath. "You don't understand," he said after a long pause. "We've been trying, but we're sinking. We need you." "No, David," I replied, my voice steady. "You don't get to ask for my help after everything you've put me through. You've ignored me. You've used me, and now you think I owe you something? No, I'm done." I could hear his breathing get heavier, the frustration mounting. "This isn't fair," he said, his voice breaking. "You're my mother. I don't know what else to do. Victoria and we've screwed up. But I need you." His words hung in the air, but I wasn't going to let them sway me. I had already made up my mind. "David," I said, my voice lower now, "you made your choices. And I've made mine. You can't come to me now, expecting me to fix everything. I'm not your safety net anymore. Not for you. And not for Victoria." There was another long pause, and I could tell he was struggling to find the right words. But I wasn't going to give him that opportunity. "I'm sorry," I said, my tone final. "But you've made this mess, and it's not my job to clean it up." I hung up the phone before he could say anything else. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had made the right decision. I had let them manipulate me for far too long. It was time to stop. I wasn't their backup plan anymore. I wasn't going to let them destroy me, not when I still had the strength to fight back. The next step was clear. I wasn't just going to sit idly by while they tried to take what was mine. I had everything I needed. The power was in my hands now, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. The following day, I received an unexpected visit. The doorbell rang just as I was finishing my morning coffee. I wasn't expecting anyone, and yet, when I opened the door, there stood David. His face was drawn, his eyes searching mine, as if looking for something. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or desperation, but it was there, lingering in his gaze. "Mom, I need to talk," he said, his voice strained. I took a deep breath, trying to remain composed. I had made my decision, and I wasn't going to let his presence shake me. "What is it, David?" I asked, my voice steady, but my heart already racing. "Please, just hear me out," he pleaded, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. I stepped aside, allowing him in, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just another attempt to manipulate me, to pull me back into their web. We sat in the living room, the silence between us thick with unspoken words. He fidgeted with his hands, clearly struggling to find the right words. "I know things have been bad," he began, "but I need you to understand, we never meant for it to get this far. We just got in over our heads. You're the only one who can help us." I listened quietly, but every word he spoke felt like a knife twisting in my gut. It wasn't just about the money. It wasn't even about the house. It was about control. He had always been able to get what he wanted from me, and now he was trying to do it again. "David," I said slowly, looking him in the eyes, "you've had your chance. You and Victoria have made your choices. Now it's my turn. I'm not going to help you. Not like this. His expression faltered, and for a moment, I saw something I hadn't seen in years, regret. But it was fleeting, gone as quickly as it appeared. Mom, please, he said, his voice breaking. I don't know what else to do. We've lost everything. You don't understand what it's like. No, I said, my voice firm. You don't understand. You've taken everything from me. My time, my energy, my trust. And now, you think you can come back and ask for more? It doesn't work that way. David stood up suddenly, his chair scraping against the floor. He was visibly frustrated now, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. You're being unreasonable, he snapped. You're my mother. I've done everything for you, and now you're turning your back on me when I need you the most? I stayed seated, my eyes never leaving his. You've done everything for me? I repeated, my voice cold. David, for years, you've ignored me, taken advantage of me, and now, when you're in trouble, you want me to fix it. You've never asked how I was doing. You've never once checked in, and now, you think I owe you something? I don't owe you anything. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He was stunned, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of power. I had said my piece, and it was time for him to hear it. I've been there for you, David, I said quietly, standing up to face him. But I'm done. You've pushed me to the side for so long, and now, when things go wrong, you think I'm just going to drop everything and help? I'm not that person anymore. I'm done being the one you come to when it's convenient. You don't get to do this to me anymore. He looked at me, his eyes full of disbelief, but I didn't flinch. I wasn't backing down. I don't need your help, I said, my voice firm. And I'm not giving you anything. Not anymore. David stood there, frozen, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. The silence felt heavy, but I didn't break it. I didn't have to. He had pushed me too far, and now it was my turn to make the final decision. I wasn't going to be part of their games any longer. I wasn't going to let them take what was mine. He didn't say anything else. He turned and left without another word, the door closing softly behind him. I stood there for a long time after he left, my mind racing. I had made the right decision, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. I wasn't done yet, though. There was still a lot to do, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life. I wasn't their puppet anymore, and they were going to learn that the hard way.